Good evening, you're watching the news. A quick look at the headlines at this hour. A COVID spike now a huge concern. More daily cases since the 20th of December. The most number of cases since then. The Prime Minister calls a meeting with Chief Ministers. Summer may see a further rise in cases, say experts. Maharashtra worst hit 60% of total India cases. 90% of cases are in Mumbai, being reported from high-rise buildings. 2,000 daily cases. Is Mumbai looking at another lockdown? BJP workers heckle leaders against candidate selection ahead of the West Bengal Assembly elections. Mamata Banerjee holds two rallies on her wheelchair. The BJP meanwhile writes to the poll panel on Mamata's misinformation ahead of her in her nomination document. Four Tamil Nadu stalwarts officially joined the race. Kamal Hassan, EPS Stalin, Dinakaran, they all filed their nominations. A two-day bank strike against the privatization of two banks. Nearly 10 lakh bank employees participate in it. An Indian national quits as the Oxford students' president over allegations of racism. The foreign minister in parliament says, as the land of Mahatma, we cannot ignore racism. We'll raise it with the UK when required. Well, the big story coming in with the rising number of COVID cases across the country. A new wave, some would call it. The Prime Minister has called for an urgent meeting with all chief ministers. Let's go across now to NDTV's Sukirti Trivedi, who's been tracking this story. When is this meeting going to be held?
This meeting is going to be held on Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. That's the timing that has been decided for the meeting to take place, and this will be held with chief ministers of all the states, and that is what is significant here. While Maharashtra and Kerala and Punjab have been making the headlines in terms of being the states that are recording the highest number of daily cases, the problem is with the fact that the surge in cases is now being seen in many other states as well, and that is why the cumulative figures of India are rising day by day from about over 20,000 cases a week ago. We are now at over 26,000 cases a week. And this comes at a time when India had started to think that it's been a year of our battle against the pandemic, and cases have finally started coming down, and we've also started vaccinating people. But the fact that our journey is going back to scratch with places like even Nagpur seeing a lockdown, the kind of situation we were witnessing last year, and that is why these extreme measures now being taken. Centre had been very active in its role in terms of sending central teams of experts to several states which were seeing a surge, and also holding regular meetings with the chief secretaries of states. Right. But clearly things have been escalated to an extent that the Prime Minister is taking hold of things now.
Absolutely a huge concern. And a few more details about what Sukirti was talking about. The COVID spike, the highest number of daily cases now since the 20th of December. Summer may see a further rise in cases, are what experts are warning. Maharashtra has been worst hit, 60% of the total number of all India cases.
India on Monday recorded 26,291 new COVID-19 cases, highest since 20th December last year. 118 people also lost their lives due to COVID-19. Maharashtra continues to be the worst hit among states with 16,620 cases, over 60% of the new COVID-19 cases. Kerala is next with 1,792 cases. Punjab had 1,492 cases, Karnataka 934 and Tamil Nadu 836. For the past 1 month, COVID-19 cases have been rising steadily.
इनके बढ़ने का जो प्रमुख कारण है वो समाज में लोगों के द्वारा कोविड एप्रोप्रिएट बिहेवियर की गंभीरता से ना लेना है.
Is this a second wave of COVID-19 cases?
Thing is, all pandemics, when they are there are multiple waves that actually come in. We have witnessed the same thing in this pandemic also in other countries. We can't say very definitely in India whether this is the onset of the second wave or not.
Experts also believe that with the onset of summer, there are chances that cases might rise further.
Virus is airborne, and the fact that it can remain suspended in air is actually what actually eventually leads to the spread of the disease.
While the vaccination against COVID-19 is happening at a rapid pace in the country, contribution from each and every individual is required in terms of COVID-appropriate behavior to prevent a second wave of COVID-19 from happening in the country and to defeat COVID-19 once and for all. With camera person Sachin Gupta, I'm Akshay Dongre for NDTV.
Almost 2,000 cases of coronavirus are being reported daily in Mumbai. More than the new strain, a negligence for social distancing guidelines may be to blame. 90% of cases are from high-rise residential buildings.
Social distancing norms flagrantly violated in Dadar market as Mumbai reports almost 2,000 cases daily. 220 buildings like Mhatre Palace have been sealed. 90% of coronavirus cases have been reported from high-rise buildings. Once again, notices like these are being pasted in societies asking that residents follow COVID guidelines. Experts say negligence and non-compliance with COVID guidelines are leading to more serious cases than the new strain.
95% of the cases are from the non-slum area, building high-rise area. On an average, we are contributing about 25 to 30 cases daily. That is showing the peak of last year's July month.
बहुत सारे लोगों ने अभी social distancing, masking and basic sanitization measures completely छोड़ दिया है. तो ये वायरस की इन्फेक्टिविटी के कारण सिर्फ नहीं ये सेकंड पीक आया, ये सेकंड पीक अपने केयरलेसनेस के वजह से भी है.
वैक्सीनेशंस जो पहले कॉल्स थे अराउंड 200 to 300 कॉल्स होते थे जैन में, बट अब कोविड केसेस इंक्रीज होने की वजह से और वैक्सीनेशन स्टार्ट होने की वजह से अब आज के टाइम में 700 to 1000 कॉल्स डेली के आ रहे हैं.
On Sunday, 1,962 new COVID cases and 7 deaths were reported in Mumbai. In just 3 weeks, the number of cases reported daily has doubled. In all of Maharashtra, over 16,000 new cases have emerged, which is the highest since the 30th of September. Districts like Aurangabad, Parbhani, Osmanabad, Pune, Nanded, Thane, Jalgaon, Nagpur, Latur, Dhule, Wardha and Nashik have been put under lockdown. Mumbai's Borivali West district is facing the highest rise in cases. 7 cases have been reported in Mhatre Palace, which is why the entire building has been sealed as per the BMC. Going by how fast cases are rising in Mumbai, there are fears that new restrictions may be announced this week. With Pooja Bharadwaj in Mumbai, Anusya Mathur for NDTV.
After several nations decided to put the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine on hold, there is an important clarification from the company. There is no evidence of an increased risk of blood clots, and the jab, which in India goes by the name of Covishield, one of the vaccines being rolled out. My colleague Parmeshwar Bawa has the details.
Let's quickly take you through how India is faring as far as vaccinations are concerned. Now, if you notice in this graph, we seem to be hitting a lull here, but then there's a upward surge, which is good news. However, we seem to be lacking on Sundays, I beg your pardon. If you notice the 28th of February, a Sunday, we see a sudden dip in vaccinations. And then again on the 6th of March, a Sunday, we see another sudden dip of vaccinations. And yesterday as well, if I can just show you, zoom in, this is quite a steep fall. So we seem to be doing pretty well as far as the week is concerned, but the weekdays were dipping, especially Sundays, which makes us ask the question, can India afford to take Sundays off as far as the inoculation drive is concerned, considering the colossal amount of patients that need to be vaccinated? Now, if you look at India in comparison to the world, let's have a quick look where we stand. So Israel topping the charts and setting a great example for the rest of us at 106.95. Followed closely by the UAE at 65.89. Then we have the UK faring pretty well as well, 37.15. The stark number in this entire chart is the 2.15 here for our country. Now again, we've got something to learn from, but the 2.5 as opposed to the 106.95, quite a stark difference. As far as AstraZeneca is concerned, also, this is a stark reminder that not all heroes wear capes. This 107-year-old man is living by example and has just gotten vaccinated, serving as a great example for the rest of us to follow. As far as AstraZeneca's clarification is concerned, now there were certain concerns regarding the vaccine, but AstraZeneca has gone on to issue a statement, but the World Health Organization has said there's no indication of a link between the jabs and the blood clots. So again, relieving news for everyone. Also, AstraZeneca has said there's no evidence of an increased risk of pulmonary embolism. So again, and also added that there is no risk of deep vein thrombosis with the vaccine. As far as the European Medical Agency is concerned, so the European Medicines Agency has also backed the jab safety. So we've got double approval, the WHO and EMA. EMA has also added that 30 reports of blood clots among close to 5 million people who have been given the vaccine dose. So 5 million as opposed to 30 people. It's not so concerning. So as far as the key takeaways are concerned, AstraZeneca has said a review of its data found no evidence that its vaccine against the coronavirus causes blood clots, the same day that Ireland and the Netherlands joined a growing list of countries that are suspending the use of the shot. Now, in addition to the company itself, the European Medicines Agency and the World Health Organization have said there is no indication the clotting events were caused by the vaccine.
In West Bengal, there have been huge protests at the BJP office in Kolkata ahead of the assembly elections, with several BJP workers protesting on the selection of candidates which has been made by the party. Protesters heckle leaders Mukul Roy, Arjun Singh and Shiv Prakash.
Mamata Banerjee and Amit Shah were set to dominate headlines today with their twin rallies. But Shubhendu Adhikari stole a march. He demanded Mamata Banerjee's candidature for Nandigram be cancelled for allegedly suppressing information. He wrote to the EC about 5 FIRs pending against her in Assam for alleged comments on NRC and one in Kolkata by CBI.
মাননীয় নন্দীগ্রাম থেকে নমিনেশন করেছেন, আমি আজকে অবজেকশন করেছি। 6টা মামলা আছে দেয়নি তাতে, 6টা মামলা সাপ্রেস অফ ফ্যাক্ট। 18 সালে 5টা আসামে মামলা হয়েছিল দেয়নি, আর একটা সিবিআই এর কাছে মামলা পেন্ডিং আছে সেটা দেয়নি। আমি আজকে কমপ্লেইন করেছি।
Trinamool dismissed it as a stunt by someone set to lose his deposit at Nandigram.
If he has any complaint, let him complain to the Election Commission now. But the Election Commission at this stage cannot cancel any nomination paper.
Earlier on schedule, Mamata Banerjee's wheelchair rolled out against the BJP juggernaut. She spoke at 2 rallies in Purulia. Amit Shah spoke via video at Jhargram, in person at Khatra. Predictably, the big fight was about her injury.
আমার পায়ে চোট লাগার ফলে কিন্তু আমি নির্বাচনের সময় আমি মনে করি আমার শরীরে যন্ত্রণা আছে, কিন্তু আমার যন্ত্রণার থেকেও সাধারণ মানুষের যন্ত্রণা অনেক বেশি।
मूलवार कांग्रेस वाले कहते हैं कि बड़ा षड्यंत्र हो गया और चोट करा दी। चुनाव आयोग कहता है हमला नहीं हुआ है, हादसा हुआ है।
Her nephew joined battle, mocking Shah for skipping his first rally because the turnout was apparently so poor. Shah said his helicopter had a snag.
কিন্তু সবার যা ছবি আমার কাছে এসছে, ভারতীয় জনতা পার্টির সর্বভারতীয় নেতারা সভায় আসছে, যা ভিড় হচ্ছে এর থেকে গ্রামে জেসিবি কাটায় লোকের বেশি ভিড় হয় দেখতে গিয়ে। চায়ের দোকানে সকালে আড্ডা দিতে লোক বেশি পাওয়া যায়।
आज मेरे हेलीकॉप्टर में खराबी आ गई, मगर मैं ऐसा नहीं कहूंगा कि ये षड्यंत्र है।
The vitriol is rising in the Bengal polls. Knives are out between and within rival parties. On top of it, if there is any merit in Shubhendu Adhikari's charge against Mamata Banerjee, then the blockbuster Bengal poll may just turn Titanic. With GD Shankar, Monadeepa Banerjee, NDTV.
With 5 chief ministerial aspirants in Tamil Nadu, the political temperature today touched a new high, with all of them filing nominations today, including Chief Minister EPS, his challenger MK Stalin, and new players like Kamal Hassan and TTV Dinakaran. The poll promises too are of a new kind in the state, from washing machines to free gas cylinders to data cards to salaries for housewives. Sam Daniel sent us this report.
The 4 stalwarts of Tamil Nadu all officially in the race now. Chief Minister EPS filing his nomination at his home turf Idapadi for a 5th term. Aiming for a 3rd consecutive term, the ruling AIADMK has promised 1,500 rupees for housewives every month, 6 LPG cylinders free every year, and free data card for students.
அதன் வழியிலே அந்த சிறுபான்மை மக்கள் கோரிக்கை வைத்திருக்கிறார் அந்த கோரிக்கையை எங்களுடைய அரசு மத்தியிலே வலியுறுத்தும்.
In Chennai's Kolattur, DMK chief MK Stalin is looking for a 3rd term after being out of power for 10 years. DMK has promised a monthly 1,000 rupees for housewives, a 5 rupee cut in petrol prices and a 4 rupee cut in diesel prices. The DMK Congress alliance hopes to continue its 2019 sweep of Lok Sabha polls.
பிரச்சனை எடுத்துக்கிட்டிங்கன்னா அதே மாதிரி விவசாயிகள் பிரச்சனை இதெல்லாம் மத்திய அரசுக்கு ஜாலரா போட்டுக்கிட்டு இருக்கு இந்த அரசு. இதெல்லாம் நம்ம நிச்சயம் முன்னெடுப்போம். அதனால நீங்கள் நினைக்கிற மாதிரி இந்த ஆட்சி மேல எந்த விதமான துரியளவு கூட நம்பிக்கை கிடையாது மக்களிடத்துல.
MNM chief Kamal Hassan, who has chosen Coimbatore for his electoral debut, will lock horns with 2 national parties, BJP and Congress. It was MNM that first mooted the idea of salary for housewives. Besides 50 lakh jobs, a corruption-free government, free computers with internet for all homes.
This is a battle between decency and indecency. This is a battle between honesty and corruption. So people will have to now take sides. People will have to endorse those who are trying to do something different.
AMMK chief Dinakaran is shifting base from Jayalalitha's RK Nagar in Chennai to Kovilpatti down south. Following his party's rout in 2019, he has roped in actor Vijaykanth's DMDK and Owaisi's AIMIM. It's a fascinating first state election in Tamil Nadu after the passing of 2 tall leaders, Jayalalitha and Karunanidhi. While it's an acid test for the leadership of the 2 Dravidian arch-rivals, new players like Kamal Hassan and others too hope the state would give them a chance to rule. In Chennai with Suresh, Sam Daniel, Findy TV.
The United Forum of Bank Unions, an umbrella body of 9 bank unions, has called for a 2-day nationwide strike on the 15th and 16th of March against the privatization of public sector banks and retrograde banking reforms. That's the allegation. Services such as deposits and withdrawal at branches, check clearances, loan approvals, these will all be affected because of the strike. However, ATMs are likely to remain functional. Over 10 lakh bank employees and officers are participating in the strike, or are expected to participate. That's the overall total number expected. The strike comes after the Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's budget announcement, where she announced the privatization of 2 public sector banks apart from IDBI Bank as part of the government's disinvestment drive to generate 1.75 lakh crore rupees. The Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar today said in Parliament that India can never ever turn its eyes away from racism after a BJP leader raised the topic of Rashmi Samant, the Indian student who resigned as the president of Oxford University Student Union after a controversy over some of her past remarks, which references and references that she'd made, some of which were branded as being racist and insensitive.
As the land of Mahatma Gandhi, we can never ever turn our eyes away from racism wherever it is, particularly so when it is in a country where we have such a large diaspora.
These remarks from the Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar in Parliament today after a BJP leader raised the issue of Rashmi Samant, the first Indian woman to be elected president of Oxford University Students' Union, but had to resign soon after controversy over some of her past remarks which were seen as racist and insensitive. He also brought up Prince Harry's wife Meghan Markle's allegations of racism by UK royals.
Shouldn't this diversity have been celebrated? Instead of that, she was cyberbullied to the point that she had to resign. Even the Hindu religious beliefs of her parents were publicly attacked by a faculty member, and that also went unpunished.
The External Affairs Minister was quick to respond.
friend of the UK, I mean, we also have concerns about its reputational impact. What I do want to say, sir, is that we have strong ties with the UK. We will take up such matters with great candor when required. We will always champion the fight against racism and other forms of intolerance.
The developments came a week after the Indian government condemned a debate in the UK Parliament over farmers' protests in India and called it one-sided and based on false assertions.
The issue of lack of access to healthcare for migrants was also raised in the Parliament as the BJP leader cited a recent report by Public Health England which states that the death rate due to COVID-19 among people of Asian origin is higher than the death rate for other communities in the UK. In New Delhi with camera person Shashikant Jha, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV.
Well, as the 63rd Grammy Awards took place with no in-person guests, the nominees joined virtually from different parts of the world. The Indian singer Priyadarshini was nominated for her album Periphery in the Best New Age Album category. She spoke exclusively to NDTV's Rohit Khilani last night. Listen in.
So firstly, could you tell the audience what was this year's Grammy like? You know, nobody could be there physically. What were you told as a nominee?
Everything happened virtually. So I was in our apartment, going online, going live on the Grammys website. So It was very different from, I'm sure, it's my first time. So I'm sure it's very different from being on the red carpet.
And talking about Periphery, you recorded this in a church in Brooklyn, and also this was recorded live, is it? Why that decision of doing that? Because that's so challenging, right?
It is incredibly challenging. It's a brilliant innovation. And if you hear the record, you'll hear, and on headphones especially, you'll hear the whole space. So the whole idea is to me, it feels like the whole idea is to have a collaboration with the architecture of the space, the music, and the recording technology. Right. So in a way, it's so timeless because the style of recording, we recorded this whole album on one microphone live, you know, just doing 2 or 3 takes top to bottom and then picking a take that we liked best. There's something beautiful about keeping human errors.